Welcome to Toonami Faithful fans. I'm senior staff writer CJ Maffers here with a very special guest that we're lucky to have today.
That's me. Hi, I'm Erika Harlacher. What's up?
Again, thank you for taking the time to talk with us. This is so exciting. I want to start off with Toonami, since we haven't been able to talk with you before. How much of a fan were you of the blog, whether it be this current iteration with Adult Swim or back in the day with Cartoon Network? I'm curious how much you were a fan of anime and of like the blog itself back in the day.
Yeah, I watched Toonami back in the day. I can't quite remember what I watched. I think Full Metal Alchemist was on the block back then, right? So I watched...
It was back again anyway.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, I watched it before, back then. And then a couple of other shows, Dragon Ball Z, I think, was on there. And Dragon Ball Z was also, like, in the morning, though, I think. Yeah. I'm, like, trying to remember way back then. But, yeah, I considered myself a fan of anime. But then when I would come places like here, people would be like, what do you like? And I was like, these 3 things. And they were like, oh, you're not really that into anime. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not into it enough, I guess. But yeah, so it's really cool to be a part of the Toonami block now. It's like, wow. Yeah.
I will say, too, it's been nice to obviously hear your voice, but I do remember at a panel, and this was maybe like a couple years ago, where it used to be just like fans sitting in, getting to hear all your favorite voice actors do stuff, and then all of a sudden now you're working in the industry. I think it's a great story to be able to tell people about that grind that you went on, and I think a lot of fans might appreciate hearing like how you all of a sudden worked as hard as you did to now becoming a voice actress yourself.
Yeah. Yes, I used to wait in line for autographs from voice actors because I would come to conventions. I really didn't go to that many conventions, but if I did go, it was so I could see the voice actor panels and like get autographs because I wanted to be a voice actor. And so it's super weird now that I am the one signing and people are like, I want to be a voice actor, and I'm like, well, it's so like out of body experience. But yeah, it's super cool. I decided that I wanted to really do it as a career when I was like 19 or 20. Yeah, so I changed my major to theater as soon as I decided that was what I wanted to do. And I started taking as many classes as I could. I got an internship at a production studio, not an acting internship, but in production to see like how they do everything. And I worked really, really hard. I was working and going to school at the same time and just kind of really trying to make everything work. So it took me a really long time to graduate because I was like taking a couple classes and then also working on the other days, and it was like crazy. But it was like the best path ever because it all worked out, and here I am, and I'm still working and taking classes all the time.
That's great to hear. So, why don't we start off with a show that a lot of fans found near and dear to their heart, Hunter x Hunter, and it is finally over. After 3 years, though, it was able to complete its run, and I'm sure a lot of people are super pumped about it. How do you feel about getting that call to be the voice of, personally, my favorite character, Kurapika?
Yes. So I actually got to audition for Gon, Killua, and Kurapika. Yeah, and Kurapika is like, 17 at the beginning of the show. He's 19 by the end, I'm pretty sure. And so when I got the audition, I hadn't really seen Hunter x Hunter. I like knew the title, but I emailed back and I was like, did you mean to send this one to me? Because he's like an adult. And they were like, yeah, they want a girl to play him because a girl plays him in Japan. And I was like, okay.
At least it wasn't Leorio.
Yes, I know. Leorio is actually my favorite character. But yeah, Matt Mercer is great as him. But so I did the audition for all 3, and they actually called me back for Killua, and they were like, we really like your Kurapika voice. Can you do like a little younger version of that? And I was like, I'll try. But then I guess they just liked my voice as Kurapika. So they were like, there you go. And I was like, great, because he's my favorite anyway, based on the auditions. And yeah, it was so great playing him, and I love him so much. And I know he's like the main character in the manga right now, so I'm like, make more episodes. I want to be him again. So maybe someday.
So the fact that you also auditioned for both Gon and Killua, it seemed like you, Eric, the other Erika Mendez, and Christina V seemed to be all going, not necessarily going for the same character, but just you all auditioned for it.
Yes.
What was it like the light bulb when you all figured out which characters you got to play, considering all of you auditioned for the same ones?
I really wasn't surprised with the casting. I was surprised with myself because, you know, he's like an adult guy. So I was like, whew, nervous that people are going to be very judgmental. But I'm glad they have faith in me. But then, yeah, I was not surprised that Erika and Christina got the other two because they are amazing and wonderful. And I was like, wow, this is a good cast. And then Matt Mercer as Leorio, I was like, oh, God. And Keith Silverstein as Hisoka. It was like a really good cast. So I'm glad that people liked my voice for Kurapika and what I did, because I felt like I was really trying to live up to all these other amazing people and not let them down. So, yay.
I will say when the first trailer kind of dropped, when no one knew who was the cast, a lot of people were actually confused. They could not tell. And I do admit, the range that you have, very impressive when you hear how low you could go with it. How did you figure out you had a voice like that to be able to do that? Did you have to like drink a lot of tea? Did you have to like do all kinds of vocal exercises to get that low? Because it's very impressive, as you could see how she's able to contort her voice way different than what you would expect.
Yeah. So I was on the speech and debate team in high school. Yeah, cool. So for you, then you know, for like speech, it's like you do a 10-minute condensed speech of something, and usually you're doing everything by yourself. Sometimes you have a partner, but like
I usually did the partner.
I also really liked the one with the partners, but you know, even then you're playing like so many characters because it's only two of you. So I had to come up with like a bunch of different distinctive sounds when I was in speech, and this was kind of before I had like wanted to be a voice actor when I was little, but then I forgot about it for a while. So I wasn't thinking about that at all. I was just thinking of like fun things to do. And there was one speech that it was actually a duo, so with a partner. Yeah, and there was one character that was like a warden. And we had so many other like female characters that my mom was the coach, so I was always practicing. And yeah, and so she was like, try and go as like low as possible. And so I went really, 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 really low. And she thought it was so funny. She was like, yes, keep doing that. So I practiced the speech with that voice over and over. And at first, when I was doing it, it was like a little painful because it was super low and I was pushing it really hard. But I mean, I guess practicing the speech so much, it just got easier and easier. And then I kind of like didn't do that voice for a while. You know, I went to college or whatever. Yeah, I guess I didn't lose it. So when I got the audition, I was like, I was trying to kind of match the Japanese, and I was like, I think I can hit that pitch. So I did, and it all worked out.
How have you enjoyed watching Kurapika's journey through the episodes that we got to see with Hunter x Hunter? Because he's kind of the Nen master before everyone else, so you kind of see how he learns it, how cool his power is when his eyes become scarlet and things like that. So I'm curious how you enjoyed getting to see kind of the evolution of Kurapika as the Hunter x Hunter seasons kind of went on.
I love his arcs like so much. I mean, yeah. Oh, I know. I haven't read it because like in the back of my mind, I'm holding out hope that like it'll be animated, and I don't want to like know beforehand. You know, it'll be way in the future, but maybe someday. But yeah, the reason that he's one of my favorites, Leorio and Kurapika are my two favorites, and I feel like Kurapika's story is so sad. I mean, they all have kind of sad stories, but like, I just love the way he like, all his fights are so great, and he's trying to, you know, get retribution for his entire clan, wipe all of them, just killed, and trying to find these eyes, and oh man, I love it so much, and his fights are so emotional, and it was so fun to get to do them. Uvo's fight is when we got there, like people have been tweeting me about it for like ever by the time we got to recording that part, so I was like ready. I was like, oh man, is this Uvo's fight? And Tony, the director, was like, yeah. You know about that? And I was like, yeah. I've seen some clips. So I was very excited. And it's cool because, I don't know, I play a lot of like princesses and like nice girls. Yeah.
Comes to mind.
Yes, yeah. And so, you know, they don't really fight that much. And when they do, they're like, I'll punch you or whatever. So it was cool to be.
It's gotten better, hasn't she?
I mean, yeah, she has. But I mean, she saved the day at the end of season 1. Spoilers.
That's true.
But yeah, it was nice to be like a guy who's like almost an adult, and he's just like filled with rage and just like going ham on these fights, and it was really, really fun.
It must have felt satisfying.
It was very satisfying. It was very therapeutic. I was like, whew, yes, good session.
So I would normally be like, so how much can you not wait for a new season? But you kind of already answered that with how much we want. And trust me, we do want more episodes. Hunter x Hunter is going to be so missed, and it just fans seem to be so touched. How do you feel about the support that Toonami fans have been giving, not only like the cast and the director and everything, but just the show in general, making it even more popular than it is?
It's so crazy. Like, I am so touched anytime anybody like brings me something to sign for Hunter x Hunter, or just talks about how they love the dub and they love the show. And I don't know. I knew it was going to be a big deal, but like, I never really know when I get cast in these things. I'm always like, this seems cool. And then sometimes they turn into like these huge, awesome things. And this is one of those that just still, I mean, Kurapika wasn't even like in the last part of the show for like a while. And people miss him. Yes, and people were constantly, even when the episodes were on TV, they were like tweeting me being like, I wish Kurapika was here. And I was like, me too.
Get to record more.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, people still bring me stuff all the time. Hunter x Hunter is like one of my most like requested things at autographs.
That's
and
awesome. That's
yeah,
really awesome.
It's so cool. So I mean, he's my good boy. So I love him so much, and I'm glad other people love him too, and the show as a whole.
So, when you mentioned like getting to play Kurapika, a character that you don't normally get to play, how about Megalobox? I wasn't necessarily I haven't seen you do quite as many roles as you did in Megalobox, so that had to have been quite a nice change of pace that you got to do something a little different.
Yes, I got to be the like low-voiced kind of antagonist of the series, which is fun. People don't let me play antagonists a lot of the time because they say they can hear me smiling when I talk. So I had to like work on that. But yeah, it's really fun. I like when I get to play different characters. I feel like I've been really lucky to get to play so many different types. I feel like I've played like the entire vocal spectrum, kind of, at this point.
You know, more think about when you look at the stuff you've done, absolutely.
Yeah, like I've played the lowest low and the highest high, and like young and old, and like, so it's so fun to play all those different types. So I loved Megalobox. Playing Yukiko was super cool. She's awesome. I love her.
I'm going to ask this because we got to talk with Jason earlier. Are you a boxing fan at all? I'd be kind of surprised. I know you like wrestling,
yes,
but I was curious if you also like boxing as well, just because of Megalobox.
So I like wrestling because it's fake.
Oh, okay.
I don't like seeing people actually get hurt. I mean, even wrestling, even though fake is the wrong word, I think. Yeah, it's a performance, it's staged, but they could still get hurt. So if they do get hurt, I'm always like, I don't want to watch, because I don't want them to actually be hurt. So no, I don't like boxing because they're actually hitting each other as hard as they can, and I'm like, I feel bad for them. I don't want them to get hurt.
Did you feel like that from watching all the fights that Joe was in?
Yes. Thankfully, Yukiko's lines, there's only like a couple that she actually watches. Like, she doesn't really, like, she's not really there for a lot of the matches. And for her lines, you know, I don't see the whole episode. I just see the parts that I'm speaking at. So she's like off to the side and the fight's going on in the background, and she's like, interesting. So thankfully, I didn't really see a lot of the blood or anything. But I'm actually in another like kind of similar show that I can't say what it is yet, but it's kind of the same thing. It keeps cutting to me being like, I'm watching. And I'm like, okay, good, because I don't really want to see all the blood.
That's pretty good. I will say, what was it like being the trainer or sponsor for Lex Lang? That must have been quite a nerd moment, just because of how long he's been doing it and how really talented he is.
Yeah, well, I've worked with Lex a lot at this point, so it was really cool to get to like act alongside him, because he's been my director in like multiple things. Yeah. So it was like, I didn't realize who was playing who when we first started, but then I think I asked a couple sessions in, because I finally like heard his voice, and I was like, oh, who's playing him? And they were like, Lex. And I was like, oh, cool, that's so exciting. So yeah, it was super cool. I love Lex, and it's great to act alongside him. He's been in the business for a really long time, so yeah, it was super cool.
Now, one thing that sadly Toonami fans don't get to see is a lot of the shows that you've done that are on Netflix, obviously being exclusive, but it's kind of hard to not cross-pollinate, have Toonami fans go crazy about Netflix. You've done a lot of interesting shows, at least. Two that come to mind is the Kataguri, if I'm pronouncing that.
Kakagurui?
Yes, that one. I really, really enjoyed that. It's just, that is definitely something I did not expect to hear you do, with how just like twisted she can be.
Yes.
That has to be very cathartic, I would feel, in the booth to get to perform in that.
Yes, Kakagurui is so fun to record. So that was a show. So I audition for a lot of the stuff that I do, but every once in a while they'll send in a clip of me from like a different show as my audition, like without me knowing what they're doing. And then the client will pick based on that. So it's called autocast. And that happened with this show. So I got the casting email and I was like, oh, I guess I auditioned for something. And in the email was a link to the trailer. So I watched the trailer and I was like, interesting. It's a little bit crazy. And then I went in for the first session and the casting director was like, so, what do you know about this show? And I was like, well, I watched the trailer. And she was like, yeah, your character's a little bit crazy. She really likes gambling, like a lot. And I was like, yeah, I could kind of tell. And so she was like, are you okay with that? And I was like, yeah, as long as it doesn't cross a certain line, like, yeah, that's fine. And it was super fun. I did have a director I hadn't worked with before. And so I was a little nervous for the first session because, like, you know, when you don't like know who you're working with, it's a little, you know, there's some crazy lines. So I was like, okay, we're about to get to know each other super well. But it was super fun, and everything from that point on was like so great and fun. And the director Ezra was amazing, or I'm sorry, the director is Steve Staley. Got them confused. Steve Staley, he was great and amazing, and yeah, it was super fun. So yeah,
that's pretty good. And also, the other Netflix property that I think is widely popular is Violet Evergarden.
I was hoping you were.
Yes, no, the gambling thing kind of just is like really more in your face, just because like of how crazy people are in that. But it seems like Violet Evergarden, I wouldn't say is like at that top tier of like known for just because Netflix, just because people don't always pay for it, right. But also with how the simulcasting system goes with that. But yet, despite all of that, I feel like it's really popular. So many people who talk about that they feel emotionally attached to, they mention that because of how much it touches them. Did you have the same way with when you watched it fully and stuff like that?
Yes. I love Violet Evergarden. It's one of my favorite shows I've gotten to do. And that was another instance of they sent my voice in, for something else. So I got the email for that, and I had heard buzz about this show. So when they were like, you're playing Violet Evergarden in Violet Evergarden, I was like, what? That's really exciting, because like they had done like an episode preview. I hadn't seen it, but like right. I knew that there was buzz around this like gorgeous show, so I was very excited. And it's interesting that you mentioned the simulcast thing, because we actually simuldubed that show.
You're kidding?
Yeah, and then they released it simuldub everywhere except for here.
Okay, that's jogging my mind.
And I was very annoyed, because I was like, why did we go through the trouble if they're not going to release it here? But they released it in the UK week by week, and I was like, well, at least people over there can watch the dub. But yeah, so simuldubbing is very scary, because you don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know what your character is going to turn into by the end.
Yeah.
So I was very glad that nothing like totally crazy happened that made the character, me having like, didn't make me play the character wrong the whole time, and then suddenly she's like a cyborg from the future who's murdering everyone.
They have to call you back, and then you just have to re-record, right?
That's true. I mean, yeah, they hadn't started putting them up yet, which I don't know. I mean, somehow we were able to simuldub, and I think we finished though before the Japanese came out, which is very rare for simuldub. So I don't really know how it all worked. I don't know. It's beautiful animation, so probably there was like some different protocol where they had to like take extra special time with all of it. And when we recorded, actually the animation was muted when we were recording it, but I didn't even know, because it was so beautiful that I was like, wow. There would be moments where I was like, can we just watch this for a second, because it's so pretty? And then I found out later that on Netflix it was like full color. So when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, I already thought it was like gorgeous, and now it's just like blowing me away.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I love Violet Evergarden so much.
And I guess kind of to wrap this up, I know how much of a Kingdom Hearts fan you are. I've tweeted all kinds of things. Sometimes I think that you're actually a plant of, Square Enix to do those kind of things. Hopefully you get cast in something in a later project too, but why was that game so monumental for you? Because for me, I just enjoyed it a lot because of the story. I liked the characters. I liked the fact they combined Final Fantasy that I like with Disney, which I didn't think would work when it first came out. So I'm curious what really resonated to have you such an avid fan of the game. And have you finished 3 at all?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Please. I finished 3 in like 3 days. I first saw a commercial for Kingdom Hearts way back when I was like 12 or 13. Yeah. I was a kid and I saw a commercial on Disney Channel, and I love Disney. I still love Disney to this day. It's like my favorite thing ever. And I was like, wow, this looks really cool. Like, it's this guy and you team up with Donald and Goofy, and like, that looks fun. So, but we didn't have a PlayStation. We only had a Nintendo in my house. And so I was like, please, can we get a PlayStation 2? And my parents were like, well, do you want any other games? And I was like, no. And they were like, well, we're not going to get a whole console just for one game. So I was like, wow. And so time went on, whatever. And then the second one was getting made, and I forget if I like used that as like, now I want 2 games or what. But anyway, they finally, like, as a present, I was like, yay, PlayStation 2. And I got Kingdom Hearts. And I was the same age of Sora then. I was 14 when we finally got it.
It kind of sucks how he's still 14.
I know. Well, now he's 16, so it's okay. But yeah, so I was the same age as him, and I just felt very like, I don't know, I connected with the game a lot. The story was like amazing. It was the first game that I played with like such an intricate story, and I just fell in love with it. I loved it so much. And then Kingdom Hearts 2 came out shortly after I turned 15. So then I was still the same age as him, and I was like, oh my god, I love it so much. I love everything about it. And then I grew up and Sora didn't. But my love for the series remained, and I played the other games eventually. I did, yes. I finished Birth by Sleep. Yes. I have to admit that since Sora wasn't really in it, it's not my favorite game because I'm just a huge Sora fangirl. But I did like Birth by Sleep.
That's
it's so sad. That's the other thing is like it's so sad, but it's like Disney.
Yeah.
So it's like such a crazy mesh. I don't know. I just really love it. And so getting to be additional voices in Kingdom Hearts 3 was like, oh my god, I cried when I found out I was going to be in it. I almost like passed out. And then I went to record, and then my fiance proposed to me on that day.
God,
yes.
what a day.
Yes, and I was like, did you just not want to compete with the best day ever? And he was like, maybe.
Smart person.
Yeah. And then we went to Disneyland after, and I was like, oh my god, it's Disney-filled day. It's the best day ever. So it holds a very special place in my heart. Yeah.
That's a great story. I'm glad you could share that with us.
Thank you. I love it so much. And yay.
I'll say, I miss Yoda Mickey. I love that design so much.
Yes, I know. Oh, man. But I love it. So I'm hoping that the next game doesn't take a million years and that we get to play it. And I'm like, maybe I'll play like a real character at some point. I know. My fiance was like, it's okay. You don't want to be like a big character in this arc anyway because it's ending. So like you want to be a big one in the new arc because there's going to be like new characters presumably. And I was like, you are smart. This is why I'm marrying you. So yeah. So I'm very excited. Yay.
I'm very excited too. Erika, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Is there anything you would like to plug about a project down the line that you can talk about? We always want to stress that just in case.
Yes.
Kind of thing with that.
Well, Sailor Moon, Sailor Stars is the first volume's out, and the second part 2 is coming out very soon. Might be out now, I'm not quite sure, but like very soon. So yeah, you should get that. I play Sailor Star Maker, aka Taiki, and it's very exciting. I used my Kurapika voice a little bit, even a little deeper though for Maker, which was very exciting. So yeah, there's one. And then Persona 5R was announced that it's coming here next year. No, this is a new like additional story and stuff is coming, and oh yes.
I don't know who his favorite is, so I'll just say it's your character.
Thank you.
Just so it's just like
I am best girl, so you know.
I will say I hope we get to hear a dub of the animation or the anime of it that came out. I know that there's no news or anything, but I do hope that obviously we get to hear that again.
I mean, I want to dub literally everything that's Persona because I love On with all of my soul. So yeah, I hope that we dub everything down the line. So fingers crossed, you know, never say never. Hunter x Hunter, what? We dubbed it like forever after it was out. So, you know. And same with Toradora. I was in that, and it was dubbed like 5 years after it came out. So, you know, never say never.
I love Toradora.
Me too. I love it so much. Ami's so great.
She really is. Anyway, thank you for taking the time. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope it wasn't too painful or anything like that.
This was fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, everyone.